Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of the Mandatory Post Fight Show. Remember, if you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO. If you got a couple of minutes, make sure to also find us on the audio side, wherever you get your shows, podcasts, leave a rate and review because, why wouldn't you? That helps the channel grow. We're a little bit befuddled right now because as we were getting ready to do the show, Brian's hit me up like, yo, are you ready? Yo, are you ready? Because I was late coming on here. And I look at my phone and I see that there is possibly a hack because it sounds so ridiculous. But this has nothing to do with boxing. But it seems like Luka Doncic may have been traded for Anthony Davis, according to Shams on his Twitter account, unless it's just like he's been hacked because it's the craziest thing that could happen, Brian.
He had to have been hacked. There's like at least one other reporter who's like confirming this, and somebody like retweeting Shams, and ESPN tweeted out the graphic of that, although that could be an intern.
I
Oh
don't know.
shit.
Is it
Chris
real?
Haynes. Chris Haynes said in a blockbuster move, can confirm the Dallas Mavericks have traded Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis and a first-round pick as part of a three-team package with Utah.
Oh
Chris
my
Haynes
God.
co-signed a report. That's real. That happened.
That's a
And we
real
have to talk about boxing because we do a boxing show. But I'm not gonna lie, this might be a quick one because
Yeah, that's like that is something where
I
Brian,
might
I think
grab.
you have to go live.
I might. Me and Chantel might end this early and then go over to my channel and talk about this trade.
This is crazy. It was so crazy that when I told Brian, he yelled at me and said it wasn't real.
That can't be
And
real.
you
But
legit
like,
yelled at me and you're like, it's not real. He has to have been hacked or that's a fake account. Brian yelled at me. And I was like, no, dude, like
how do you
take a
trade Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis?
so dumb. It's like the most ridiculous. Like, I don't know what Dallas is doing. Unless they thought that Luca was gonna leave when his contract
So
was. All right, well, we gotta go over to Tyrone. Remember, guys, if you donate to the show, we shut up right away and
yeah,
we
let's
go
talk about
straight
boxing. Let's
to
do our
your
jobs.
comment. He said all action tonight. And you know what? We are going to get to the card as well, but we gotta talk some boxing and we're gonna get right into it. Let's start off with the main event, Brian. There's so much crazy stuff going on right now. We don't even know how to think. But nonetheless, David Benavidez wins by unanimous decision against David Morrell. The scorecards were 118-108 and 115-111. Two scorecards had that. Brian, your thoughts on what we saw between David Benavidez and David Morrell? What were your thoughts, man? Do you feel like the scorecards were also fair?
All right. Forgive me, everybody, because we got to collect ourselves because that is if you follow the NBA at all, you know why we're disoriented. And I'm over here planning like, am I gonna have to do another live stream after this? Um, okay. David Benavidez with a performance that I thought was a very good one. People were, Chantal, I don't know if you saw any of this, but on Twitter, criticizing David Benavidez for lack of power at this weight, where I thought he just did a great job of applying pressure. I thought David Morrell had a weird, perplexing game plan. Like, I didn't love the game plan at all. I thought his route to victory was boxing, and he stood too long, like just letting David Benavidez come through the front door, not moving enough, was putting himself in the corner at different points and just allowing David Benavidez to tee off. And I thought that was a difference in the fight. Like, he had some moments early. I thought David Benavidez actually lost two of the first three rounds. David Morrell, I had him ahead. And then after that, David Benavidez just took over and may have lost two rounds tops from that point on. There was a knockdown that David Morrell scored late, but he ended up losing a point because of a late hit that I thought was the ref putting on a little bit of a show. It was a late hit, but at the same time, I get the emotion of like, hey, they were trading back and forth. It was heated. I kind of think you should let that one go a little bit, given that David Benavidez wasn't like badly damaged, it seemed, but it is what it is. I thought it was great card as it turned out. We'll talk about how we did on the betting side. You got David Benavidez winning. I had Stephen Fulton winning, so that was interesting. And we'll talk about Isaac Cruz a little bit as well. But
I had Stephen Fulton
overall,
as well. I took that by decision. I sprinkled
you had a
on
hedge
two.
bet. That's right. You had Stephen Fulton, and then you had a hedge. You had the smart hedge actually. But unfortunately, Brandon Figueroa couldn't come through. But look, and I had it 115, 111. Like I basically the card that I had, which would imply that David Morrell won 4 rounds, just loses a point because of the late hit. I think that's about as much as you can give him, though. I don't think it was any closer than that. I thought 4 rounds was the most he can get. I think there were plenty of people that are probably just going to give him 1 or 2. I thought he showed some good things, but I didn't like his game plan at all. And I thought David Benavidez showed why, he's that dude right now. And I want to see him against that Artur Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol winner for sure.
Yeah, you know what? Going into this fight, I definitely said it was 55-45. Brian, I think you took David Morrell to win in this fight. And I thought early on it was a fight where David Morrell could win because after the first 2 rounds, I had it split 1-1. And I thought David Morrell was boxing pretty efficiently. But the thing with David Benavidez, as you know, the monster, once he gets going and gets in a rhythm, it's an absolute wrap. And I felt like that's what happened. I didn't really like David Morrell's game plan, to be honest with you. When it came into the mid rounds, I didn't know what he was doing. I thought he could have used his range and distance a little bit better against David Benavidez, but these two guys were trading. This was a great fight. The 4th round was probably one of the most exciting rounds in this fight. And as for David Morrell, I thought he could have fought a little bit better. I was expecting more from him in the later rounds. And when it came to it, I thought he would need the knockout to win. And he's younger. He doesn't have the same experience as David Benavidez. So I'm not surprised the fight went how it went. And I'm also not surprised that it went the distance. I think that was one of the first things that I said. By the way, guys, keep the comments coming because we are going to get into all of your comments. But I think this sets up for a great fight between the winner of the rematch of Dmitry Bivol and, of course, Beterbiev. But nonetheless, this was a great fight. Could you imagine a fight with David Benavidez and Artur Beterbiev? Could you imagine how crazy that fight would be? Like, sign me up for that right now. Now, I know that Turk said earlier, he was like, hey, if this, we're going to need to see the winner of this against Beterbiev and Bivol. They don't even need him to do this.
The Tony Khan of boxing just wants to fantasy book everything. Don't worry, people will turn on him in a couple of years or whatever. But yes, obviously, we would all want to see David Benavidez against the winner of that fight. Like, yes, that can happen. By the way, I'm not even sure that would happen next because, like, all right, if Dmitry Bivol wins, you're not going to do a trilogy.
You would have to, yeah, you would have to do a trilogy. But I think it makes this weight class very, very interesting. And to be not. Yeah, we're going to get into that in just a moment, Victor. It's absolutely crazy as we go through this card. But you know what? I think it's one of those fights where also we kind of saw David Benavidez be that guy. So much conversation about his power transcending. I don't even think it matters if he fights like this. If he ends up getting wins by unanimous decision, it really doesn't matter if he has the power or not. Now, are we going to see that power in his next fight? Possibly, but David Morrell was taking a lot of those shots. And I thought even physically, I thought David Morrell looked bigger than Benavidez in the ring. Like, of course, there's the height advantage and the reach advantage, but just body-wise and how he's filled out, he looked bigger than Benavidez. And usually we know Benavidez is the weight bully.
I wonder what they rehydrated up to. Did that get reported? The rehydration? Probably not yet, right?
No. It definitely didn't. But nonetheless, this makes everything a lot more interesting. When it was like the first 4 rounds, I was like, yo, we might get a rematch of Morrell and Benavidez. Sign me up. But after, like I said in the preview, when it comes to, the 4th, 5th, 6th round, Benavidez ends up figuring you out. And then it's just an absolute wrap. And that's what he did. And to be honest with you, I can see why Canelo is kind of ducking him. And that's a conversation that I don't think we're going to have anymore because David Benavidez fights in the 175-pound division.
Canelo tried that, but Dmitry Bivol put his ass back down. Yeah.
I mean, but Bivol's that good.
But that's the thing.
Is that good.
I think there's a blueprint to beating David Benavidez, much like there's been a blueprint to beating Isaac Cruz. You need the right guy to implement it, and the guy has to be elite, though, or at least have like those physical traits. That's why I like David Morrell heading into this because I felt like he could implement that. He just didn't. I don't know if it was experience or the intimidation of once you get in the ring, your plan kind of goes out the window because clearly the plan and the route for David Morrell to winning this fight was boxing, was just actually boxing, moving around, using your reach, not staying in one place, not just allowing David Benavidez to crowd you and just tee off to your body and actually using that movement and not putting yourself in the corner and putting yourself on the ropes repeatedly. Like he kept allowing David Benavidez to put him in these positions where David Benavidez was just able to use his strength, able to use the power advantage, and able to really hurt him to the body. Like he kept banging that body over and over, which is very, very smart on David Benavidez' hand. And we could see that coming. And one of the things I harped on in the preview was he's going to throw that uppercut a lot. And he did. He was throwing a lot of uppercuts to the head, which is what you want to do against a southpaw who has range. If you have them in your range, you want to throw that uppercut, and you want to be able to hit him to the body. David Benavidez was doing that. Like I thought he did. He performed a very smart fight. He executed a good game plan. I think to beat him, you need somebody who has the reach that David Morrell has, but to be able to use it, or to be maybe it's a Dimitri Bivol. Maybe Dimitri Bivol could sort of neutralize that if he could take a shot. We've seen in the Artur Beterbiev fight, and we've seen in other fights, like he could take a shot. So I wonder what that would look like. But obviously, we would have to get to Beterbiev Bivol first. But other than that, the list of guys who could actually execute said game plan that I'm talking about to beat David Benavidez is really short. Really, really short, if anybody. You could probably only count them on one hand. You could probably only use a couple of fingers, if that. And it's definitely got to be in the light heavyweight division, maybe super middleweight. I'm not even sure, but he would beat a lot of the super middleweights that we've been talking about, like an Edgar Berlanga or Diego Pacheco. Like that's not even debatable, in my opinion, at this point.
Yeah, and I mean Diego Pacheco trains with Benavidez' dad, if I'm not mistaken. So, like, because if you look at Pacheco, he fights like David Benavidez. Like, they're very similar in their styles. So, you never know if that's a fight that happens down the line in the future. But nonetheless, this was a very, very entertaining fight. And the question is, let's go back to Tyrone, who donated to the show, y'all.
Yeah.
If you can't get Benavidez early, good luck. And this is the thing. He gets better as the fight goes on. It's very, very true. Let's go back to Tyrone. He said Beterbiev might beat David Benavidez. It's a tough fight. I think it depends because we are forgetting that Beterbiev is sneakily old. Like he's like almost 40 years old, and I know how good he is, and he's Canadian now, so I love Beterbiev. Okay, but we don't know what he looks like in like a year and a half because at some point age catches up to you. And we don't know when father time is going to roll through, right? So that's the only thing that I will say. Before we get into more of the comments, guys, I think we have to go, Bryan, and we're not trying to rush this, guys. It's just we can't even focus right now. I know I can't.
Yeah, I'm seeing like a Tim McMahon. Tim McMahon just basically said why they did this trade, and I'm like,
why?
wow.
Can you read it?
Yeah, the Mavericks had concerns moving forward about Luka Doncic due to his conditioning, because that's been a topic of conversation, but also the looming commitment of the Supermax extension. For people who don't know, Luka Doncic, who's one of the best players in the world, is going to be a free agent in 2026. And the first thing I thought of was money, where if they're not going to extend him, and if he's not going to extend with them now, then they were able to just sell obviously high and get Anthony Davis in return. I don't know why they wouldn't get a hell of a lot of like draft capital instead, but they want to remain competitive. So it is what it is. All right. Let's get to some comments.
Wait, but can I say something though?
Yeah.
If Anthony Davis can stay healthy and him and Kyrie, I think they could be pretty
Oh.
successful in Dallas. And then you still have Klay Thompson there. Like I still think Dallas is one of those teams, if they can put it together, they've got some pieces there.
Sure.
LA to me is still an absolute mess.
We should
like,
do this over on my
like
channel,
the Lakers. I know this is not an NBA podcast, but the Lakers still are an absolute mess, even with Luka there.
Well,
and it's going to be interesting to see if LeBron's finally going to be like, you know what, I'm old now. Like I'm going to take a step back, or if he's still going to want to be ball dominant. Because the dude is still gonna want to be ball dominant.
LeBron and Luka, though, what, they didn't even get Austin Reeves in this trade. Like,
we're back to the boxing show now, Bryan.
All right. Anyway,
basketball and boxing is the new show now I'm playing. All right. So, Bryan, what is next for a guy like David Benavidez?
Oh my goodness. So I think I'm telling you right now, I'm picking Dimitri Bivol to win this rematch. So I don't think it's going to be the winner of Dimitri Bivol and Artur Beterbiev, unless Dave Benavidez just sits on the sidelines and waits for like the trilogy to happen. But I feel like he takes a stay busy fight in the meantime. I don't know what that looks like. There's a lot of interesting guys in the super middleweight division. Excuse me, guys, because again, a little befuddled here. And this light heavyweight division in particular, because he's there now. But there's guys that like, I wonder if Christian Mbili, if he can't get the Canelo fight, does he just move up? You know what I mean? Like it felt like David Benavidez wanted bigger fights. Canelo Alvarez in particular just moved up to light heavyweight. And I wonder if there are going to be other super middleweights who take that route. Otherwise, in a light heavyweight division, and I say that because light heavyweight division is not awesome right now, because you got. You want to see Dave Benavidez versus Joshua Watsi? You want to see Dave Benavidez versus Callum Smith? You want to see Dave Benavidez versus Anthony Yard or Najee Lopez, who's not ready for Dave Benavidez yet, who I think is going to be good? Do you want to see him against Malik Zanad, who fought against Dimitri Bivol? You know what I mean? So if it's not going to be the winner of Bivol, Better BF, like if Better BF wins, then it has to be Artur Better BF. Better BF wins again, then Better BF, then Dave Benavidez, that's the fight to make. And Dimitri Bivol, he could fight David Morrell for all I care. I think a lot of people will watch that. That'd be great. But if Bivol wins this fight, and I think he's going to win against Artur Beterbiev this time. I thought he won last time and got robbed. If he wins this fight, then yeah, I think we're looking at David Benavidez just taking a stay busy fight in anticipation of the winner of the trilogy. There's some fun fights you could make there, though.
No, but here's the thing. I thought Bivol won the first fight against Beterbiev too.
Mhm.
However, when they have this rematch, if Bivol fights the exact same way and he doesn't, like, why would he win? Because he fought a perfect fight against Beterbiev, in my opinion, and he still lost.
Different
So it's
judging.
like after that fight, I was legit like, what more does Dimitri Bivol have to do? That was just, I want my bet for that. By the way, it was like 700 plus 700 for Beterbiev to win by decision, and I was like, yes, hit it. But as a boxing fan that saw the fight, I was like, he didn't win that fight. Like, I don't think he did. And so I think Beterbiev is going to win the rematch too. So what's next for David Benavidez? Yeah, I think it should be the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol. However, if Bivol beats Beterbiev, then they're for sure going to have a trilogy. Like, money-wise, that makes the most sense. There are some interesting fights in this division, though. I wouldn't mind seeing David Benavidez against Buatsi.
Sure.
I think it's an interesting fight, and it helps him stay busy. And to be honest with you, UK fans love Buatsi. Yes, Tyrone the Great.
Look,
Anthony Yard. This is a good fight. This is a good
fun
fight.
because you know why it's a fun fight. It's like when they put Angel Fierro against Isaac Cruz, where it's like you're gonna have two guys that are just gonna go for it. And stylistically, you have like, yes, Dave Benavidez is a level above Anthony Yard, but at the same time, David Benavidez could get clipped, as we saw today multiple times, by somebody who has some power. And Anthony Yard, if nothing else, he has that. So I think that's the type of fight you would look for Dave Benavidez to have if it's a stay busy fight next. Otherwise, it's more likely he gets Benavidez. Like, I'd be very surprised if Dimitri Bivol wins this fight and then we go into Bivol versus Bivol versus Benavidez as opposed to Beterbiev. These fucking names, man. Like, it's happened a couple different times. Like, even Tyrone in the comments, he said Beterbiev when you're combining David Benavidez. And like, it's difficult. But yeah, Ace says, I thought Bivol won too, but it was close. No robbery. I thought it was close, but I don't think Beterbiev won that fight at all. To be fair, I don't think it was that close.
But professionally, it said he did. That's why I'm like, Jalen Davis. Benavidez versus Beterbiev is a more interesting fight. I agree. But honestly, I really love watching Bivol fight because it's beautiful. Like, he's so good.
Yeah.
And I've never been the type of girl that likes to see a knockout every time. So I love the way that Bivol fights. But I don't know what more he could do. Like, that's the only thing with me. Like, if he didn't win that first fight, what more could he do? Because I thought he fought a perfect fight against Beterbiev. I think the only time Beterbiev is going to lose is when Father Time catches up to him. That's the only time, because
I think it's about to. That's the thing about his rematch with Dimitri Bivol.
But we never know. But we can't call it, right? So it's like I can't just like assume Father Time's going to catch up to him before this next fight in February. However, if him and David Benavidez were to fight, like, Benavidez is younger, he looked really good tonight. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think I put him right now on my pound for pound list, and I think I have him in the top 6.
I don't. All right.
Like, top 6, top 7. Yeah, he just beat David Morrell. He moved up a weight class. Like,
I'm not doing that.
He's on the pound for pound list for me.
Nope.
He is. And I'm telling you, this performance was really, really good. I don't know if I have him top 6, but I think he's in the top 10 for sure.
I'm not doing that. For sure. You have him ahead of like Tank, maybe?
No, I don't have him ahead of Tank.
Like, I would need your top 10 in order.
Well, I would have to think about it, but I think David Benavidez after this performance, because that's how high I was on David Morrell. And then also when I take a look at the division, it's like, who else in the division is better than him right now other than Bivol and Beterbiev? right? And those two guys would have to be on it as well. But this is a really, really good performance from David Benavidez. And I know people are going to continue to talk about his power, but this is only his second fight at 175.
Mhm.
So he's only going to get better. And he just
Against two
beat,
good guys too.
like, he has names on his resume. And now I think it's like you take a look at his resume. And I think if you had any doubts about the monster, I think you have to shut up. Okay, here's the next question. What's next for David Morrell?
I was just about to ask you that, and I think he probably fights one of the guys that I just mentioned to you, or maybe even someone a tier lower just to get him a win. By the way, like I think there's no reason to be like out on David Morrell either. I mean, he's only 11-1. He's 27, still getting better. I do think like he needed this sort of experience, but I don't think he's a guy you just write off all of a sudden. He stood toe to toe with Dave Benavidez a little too much, in my opinion. Took every shot, didn't go down either, and did some really good things. I thought he won a few rounds. I'm curious to see what he's going to do next. I thought his performance could have been a lot better, but that's credit to Dave Benavidez also, as we outlined. So I think it'll be a fight, hopefully, at some point this year. Like David Morrell should come back and be good, and I think he could be a champion again in this weight class. Because again, if we go through the light heavyweight division, how many dudes are you really taking before David Morrell right now? You're taking Benavidez, you're taking Bivol, you're taking better BF, and that's honestly probably it. Because if you give me David Morrell versus Joshua Buatsi, all due respect to Buatsi, who I think
I'm
is
taking
good,
David Morrell.
I am too.
Like, I'm taking a look at that division, and he's the fourth best at
Yes,
175. He's the fourth best.
at worst.
So, and this is a great comment from our good friend Ace_317, who's been a friend of the show for a very long time. Morrell is going to grow exponentially from this and show a lot, just going the distance with Benavidez. But even then, like, this is one of those fights, and I kind of compare it to, and Morrell isn't young, but as you know, Cuban boxers, it takes them a little bit longer in the professional ranks, but they have like great amateur experience.
Yeah.
But this is kind of like, and I know that they're pretty similar in age, David Morrell and David Benavidez, but it's just different in terms of experience in their record. But this is like when Canelo fought Mayweather, right? Like, it's okay to take L's. Like, your career isn't over because you take a L. I know we live in this era where everyone wants the Mayweather O, but your career is not done. David Morrell is the fourth best boxer in this division. And I think he beats anybody. Like, let's go through the list again. I think he beats Buatsi. I think he beats Anthony Yard. Is there anyone other than, you know,
It's just the big three. It's
yeah,
just
it's just,
Benavidez, and we could say we have a big three at light heavyweight.
we
And
do.
it was going to be the winner
I
of
think
this
he
fight.
beats
It better be
Vosdick.
yeah, Vosdick, Yard. As long as he doesn't just stand in the pocket too long with Yard, Malik Zanad, Willie Hutchinson, Lyndon Arthur. You know what I mean? Like you keep going down the line of light heavyweights, and if a super middleweight would come up, like I actually think I'd be very interested to see. All right, again, if Christian Mbili feels like he wants to move up and is not getting the fight that he deserves at 168, if Christian Mbili fights, or if David Morrell wants to drop back down to 168, if he could still make that weight, David Morrell versus Christian Mbili would be a banger. David Morrell versus Diego Pacheco would be a banger. Caleb Plant, if Caleb Plant wanted to move up or whatever, like just fun fights you can make there. If Jaime Munguia beats Bruno Sarase again, I do wonder, like, all right, he's been up there at 168, lost to Canelo. He's a candidate to me that could move up to 175. Jaime Munguia is, and we know he's a big dude. Jaime Munguia versus David Morrell, and with all these guys that I'm mentioning as just potential fantasy fights or whatever, I would like David Morrell in most of them, if not all of them, right now. Now, to be fair, he still has to beat, like, his biggest win is against whom? Like, that's kind of
Yeah,
the thing we're missing here. But I still think in terms of ability and in terms of what he showed against David Benavidez, like, yeah, to me, he's the fourth best at light heavyweight right now, which
I
is
would say
great.
that.
That's great.
Yeah, and this is a great comment here by Adam, who's also a friend of the show. Morrell would clean house at 168. I think so. I think he's beating anyone at 168, Brian. I think he beats Caleb Plant. I think he beats Edgar Berlanga. I think he beats Diego Pacheco. Like, even though I'm really high on
No,
Diego
but I'm with
Pacheco,
you. Yeah.
I
But
think
does that include Canelo? Is Canelo part of the house cleaning?
that's a tough fight for Canelo that he would not take. There's
I
no way
think that's I think that's fair.
Canelo's not fighting David Morrell. He won't even fight David Benavidez.
Yeah.
There's no way Canelo's taking that fight. We're gonna see Canelo against Mbili.
Which, by the way, I mean, if you wanted to argue, I don't know if I would, but if you wanted to argue Christian Mbili is Canelo Alvarez's biggest test since
Oh my
Dimitri
god.
Bivol,
Yeah.
I might agree with that
Yeah.
because I'm not sure Edgar Berlanga would beat Christian Mbili right now. I'm not. I don't think Jaime Munguia. I don't know if he would. I still think we get Munguia versus Mbili at some point because of Top Rank or whatever. Um, Jermel Charlo. I mean, John Ryder retired. Gennady Golovkin's retired, and then you got to go back to Bivol and Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant's one of the best at super middleweight right now, and if David Morrell fights him, I would favor David Morrell right now.
I would. But you know what the crazy thing is about Caleb Plant? I think Caleb Plant can legit beat anybody. Like he's that good,
He's
and
good.
he
Yeah.
he has heart, and it's like I love Caleb Plant, his style, and he's just one of those dudes where it's like, if I would take a look at odds and I just wanted to make a sprinkle on something, like I might put my money on Caleb Plant as I always do, just as I think they don't call him Sweet Hands Plant for nothing. Before
We
we
need a
move away from
tournament.
this,
We need a tournament at super middleweight. Is what I keep saying. There's too many dudes at super middleweight right now who are interesting. Like we just mentioned a bunch: Mbili, Berlanga, Pacheco, Caleb Plant, Jaime Munguia, assuming he gets his comeback win.
I don't even
Um,
want to talk about Jaime Munguia right now.
yeah,
Like
that's
I
fair.
just don't want to mention him.
Osles Iglesias also. Like there's a lot of dudes at
Yes.
super middleweight. We need a tournament at 168.
I know I'm being harsh, but wait till we get to the co-main. Because Ryan Hong made a comment, and I think we need to get there now, Brian.
Okay.
I texted this to Brian. The exact words from Ryan Hong. Brandon Figueroa is trash.
Oh my
That
god.
performance by Brandon Figueroa was absolute trash. Like, get your trash bags and get ready to put Brandon Figueroa's performance in those trash bags because that's how bad it was. Like, here's the thing. I first want to give props to Stephen Coolboy Steph Fulton.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I think a lot of people were saying he was done. We were questioning his chin. And as you heard in the post-fight interview, he thought Brandon Figueroa got slower. And his IQ and skill, counterpunching, we saw all of that today. The footwork. Stephen Coolboy Steph Fulton put on an absolute clinic against Brandon Figueroa, who, what game plan was he using? It was a terrible performance. One of the worst performances I've ever seen. You're Brandon Figueroa, you have the length, you have the power, but even though the power wasn't felt today, you gassed out mid-round. Yeah, Marlon 2631 says
2631.
easiest fight of Stephen Fulton's life. Yeah, like it was terrible. I was watching this on my couch and I was so upset because I sprinkled like just before the fight. I was like, yo, I'm gonna put some money on the underdogs and just like make a parlay. And one of them was Brandon Figueroa getting it done in now rounds 9 through 12, and he was gassed by then. It was one of the worst performances I ever saw, but I was so pissed off. But I was happy for like Cool Boy Steph because everybody was talking smack about him, and now I
Plus
don't think he can
225
do
by
that.
decision, by the way. Both of us hit
Yes.
that. Stephen Fulton.
Which by the way, if you go back to the preview show, that was one of the bets where we're like, you gotta put some money on this because I don't know what Brandon Figueroa thought, but I don't even know what's next for him. But Cool Boy Steph, were those real? I don't think they were. I think they were like boxing shoes put into Timberlands.
That's what I think.
Because you can't fight in Tims, yo. You know Tims are thicker, yo. Like we all have Tims here, right? Tims are thicker.
You know I
okay?
do. I mean,
yeah, I bought mine in New York actually.
I need new ones
Tims,
actually.
Tims are thicker. And those weren't thick, like they were a little bit narrow and they were thinner. But I thought his outfit was actually pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie, guys.
Me too.
I thought it was
I
hilarious.
couldn't believe he actually came out of that. I thought it was some warm up bullshit, and he was actually fighting.
But I'm actually really happy for Cool Boy Steph because I think people thought that he was washed, but he put on a great performance. Like you take a look at this division at 126, and unless Inoue comes up in there and is like, "Yo."
Remember
right?
me?
Like, yeah, that's pretty much what can happen. Unless Inoue rolls up in there and then everyone like starts freaking out. This is a weight class that is so interesting. I think Cool Boy Steph's toughest task could be like a Nick Ball. But I think
that would be so much fun.
It'd be a great fight. But
I love Nick Ball.
Stephen Fulton was like taking like big shots. But he said there were no power. You also got Shushu Carrington. I think Cool Boy Steph beats him, but he's a very interesting name in this weight class.
So let's see.
Angelo Leo.
Let's see the WBC rankings too, because I mean, I don't know if they're gonna mandate that he fights a mandatory, but the champion in recess is apparently still Ray
Ray
Vargas,
Vargas, yeah.
which Stephen Fulton versus Ray Vargas is a PBC waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well, hold
that'd
up.
be
Be
fun.
quiet, man. Ryan Shepard just donated to the show
Oh,
$2. Thank you, Ryan. He really beat him in some Tims and jeans. No, he sunned him in the ring. Like, he legit sunned him in Tims and jeans.
a little
Love that
surprised by
fit.
this. Number one contender WBC, same as the WBO. Bruce Carrington.
Shushu Carrington.
Bruce
But
Carrington, Stephen Fulton.
but to be honest, I think Stephen Fulton like annihilates him. Like
Annihilates? I don't
I
think
think
that.
he wins every round.
I do not think that.
I do. I think
I know you're high on Stephen Fulton, and he just had a great performance. But like,
he had a great
maybe the New
performance.
Yorker in me is coming out a little bit.
No,
But
it
I don't.
is. I like Shushu, but he don't have the experience Cool Boy has. Cool Boy went all the way to Japan and took an ass whooping from Inoue. He's ready for anything.
Bruce Carrington wants in a way that I
That's
think
not this.
that I don't think he's ready for.
No.
We'll have to see how he looks against Enrique Vivas in March. That's just been announced actually at the Fountain Blue in Las Vegas. That's on the Michaela Mayer Sandy Ryan rematch card. And Brian Norman Jr. is fighting Derek Cuevas, so that's going to be fun.
Tyrone the Great with a great comment right here. Angela Leo is a great match. Yeah, I would watch Angela Leo and Cool Boy Steph. I think that's a great fight.
I think Fulton gets that one.
Who would you take, like, just right now? Cool Boy Steph or Shushu?
I want to see. Oh shoot! Excuse me, Jesus! I don't know what was that. Got all choked up thinking about this fight. I want to see Shushu Carrington. How he looks in his next fight. I would lean Stephen Fulton right now. I would go with the experience. I would go with the boxing ability. I think he would win by decision, but I want to see how Bruce Carrington looks in his next fight. Rafael Espinoza is also a champion of this division, who we should mention because he's maybe the most dangerous. Just aesthetically, I want to see Rafael Espinoza versus Nick Ball.
I want to see that too.
Let's see what it looks like. Nick Ball versus Stephen Fulton. Nick Ball will be a pain in the ass against anybody he fights. I don't think he'd beat everybody or anything like that, but he'd be a pain in the ass. Like featherweight's a fun division because like there's no one real dominant force. I feel like all these dudes could beat each other. There's a case for everybody until Naoya Inoue jumps up in this weight class and reintroduces himself. And honestly, he could tear through this entire weight class if he does it soon.
If I'm actually taking a look at this weight class, if you watch the show, I think you know that Rafael Espinoza is my favorite fighter in this weight class. So give me Cool Boy Steph and Rafael Espinoza. That's the fight I'd want. Give it to me right now. What would I do with myself with that fight? I think I'd still take Espinoza. He's my favorite fighter in that division. But we saw how Cool Boy Steph fights against a guy that likes to come forward, is aggressive, takes a lot of hits, throws a lot of punches. But I just think Rafael Espinoza's power it's different from Heartbreak Kids. Like I didn't see Brandon Figueroa's power at all in this fight.
No, and on the we got a super chat. Also, Jalen, to answer your question, Oshaki's 130 right now, champion in that division. Shushu versus Cool Boy is like Benavidez versus Morrell. Shushu is talented, but haven't seen him at the elite level.
I agree.
Yes, I agree. I think with Shushu, he also, in a recent fight, showed a bit more warts than Morrell did leading up to this one. Morrell struggled a little bit in his last fight, adjusting the light heavyweight, but ultimately navigated it. Whereas Bruce Carrington has a win on his record that straight up could be a draw. David Morrell doesn't have one of those. The fight against Suleiman Sagawa, that one was a majority decision win, and there were people thinking that he might have even lost that fight, Bruce Carrington. That was a theater. Obviously, in September, he ain't going to lose a close fight at the theater. So I would say more tested in that regard. And Sagawa was not bad, but it was surprising to see that. Sagawa's didn't he fight for the IBO championship at one point or something close to that? IBO Intercontinental Championship, that's what it was. But I think overall, Benavidez, Morrell as a comparison to Shushu versus Cool Boy is interesting.
We both took a side. I'm still like reading all the comments about this trade. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I want to apologize to you if you feel like I'm all over the place for this post-fight show. I'm going to admit to you that I am. But I love you guys for joining us. Like it looks like we have like close to 300 people rocking with us right now. So thank you. Bryan, I think we got to move over because Isaac Cruz got the win today by unanimous decision. But
However,
let me tell you, I was not impressed at all. I feel like Isaac Cruz, and I know there's a lot of Isaac Cruz fans. I'm an Isaac Cruz fan, but after this performance where I feel like he could have got Figueroa out of here, he didn't. And now I just think he's extremely overrated. Is
I,
Isaac Cruz overrated? Like, were you like thrilled by his performance, Bryan? And if you're in the chat, drop your comments. If you want to cuss at me, go ahead. If you're an Isaac Cruz fan, if you want to tell me
I
I'm
don't know if we
stupid,
want that, but
well, whatever. I'm dealing with other stuff. Luca just got traded to the Lakers, okay? So if you want to cuss at me, go ahead, throw it in the comments. I know you Isaac Cruz fans love him, but like, is he overrated or am I just tripping out? Because I think he looks
I'm
overrated, like completely. He's one dimensional, and I feel like he should have knocked out Fierro. I think he was like a minus 2,500 or okay, I'm tripping. He wasn't that, but he was a big favorite. He
no,
was a
he was minus 1,000. He was
okay,
minus a
yeah,
thousand live even,
yeah,
at one point, and he faded in this fight to the point where I was like, yo, this could actually be a draw. Which I forget who was doing the fight on Amazon in terms of doing the judges, the unofficial scorecards, where they had this like a draw very late into the bout. I don't remember where it
yeah.
landed. If someone remembers, let me know. But Isak Cruz, look, I've been lower on Isak Cruz than consensus. Tyrone comments Cruz has always been overrated, and he knows like I think with Isak Cruz, again, the blueprint was kind of out. I said this ahead of the fight with Rayo Valenzuela. If Raul Valenzuela stands into the pocket, kind of like the same thing I was saying about David Morrell and David Benavidez. If you stand in the pocket with this dude, because I actually think there's some similarities with Benavidez and Isak Cruz. I keep
I'm
restarting that
sorry. I
sentence.
I love Ryan Hogg. He always makes me laugh every post fight show. Isaac Cruz fights like everyone owes him money, dude. Oh my god, that's hilarious. He does fight like this is like one of the best comments we've ever gotten on this show. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for that.
To me, he's like 140 David Benavidez, except David Benavidez is a little better. But Isak Cruz ran into Gervonta Davis. He had a loss before that, by the way, but Gervonta Davis and he got outboxed. And Valenzuela, same thing, got outboxed. Where same thing I said about Dave Morrell. If you stand in the pocket with this dude being Dave Benavidez, you're gonna lose the fight. But Rayo Valenzuela, if you box and actually move and use the height and reach advantage you have over Isak Cruz and stay out of the way of his body shots and stay out of the way of that overhand right and these deadly left hooks enough to outbox him and get the rounds, and you'll win this fight. And they almost took it from him, split decision, but Valenzuela ended up kind of exposing him in some regard,
Yeah.
winning that fight. Rolly Romero was just a tailor-made, perfect matchup. And he even has some success outboxing Isak Cruz at times. One judge even had Rolly ahead at the time he got stopped against Isak Cruz. Rolly just, he's pretty chinny. And the Gio Cabrera fight, which we've talked about
Yeah.
before, like that performance, that could have easily been a Gio
Don't say
Cabrera
that. The
win.
Pitbull Cruise fans are gonna come for you.
Yeah,
Like they did all week when you said that. They
like
like hated us for like they were just leaving the most mean comments.
I mean, and in this fight, he takes a step down in competition because he just got outboxed by Jose Valenzuela and he lost the fight. I mean, and he barely won the fight. He could have lost the fight because I don't know what, like 98, 92 in this fight was kind of crazy. 97, 93, I don't even see that. Like to me, a draw would have been
Yeah.
very justifiable. And Fierro, of course, like he came in there probably knowing that he needed to get a knockout to get a fair shake or knockdowns to get a fair shake. But he showed his mettle. He showed why he's tough. And I think Pitbull Cruz is an entertaining fighter. And he's the guy you could put on a card and he could sell. But
Yeah.
he has a ceiling. And we've seen who he can excel against and who he's going to struggle against ultimately and what styles. Like at 140, we've talked about, speaking of weight classes that need a tournament, 140 needs a tournament because there's a lot of dudes who are super competitive with one another. There's rumors about Teofimo Lopez and Richardson Hitchens, and I legitimately don't know what I'm going to do if that fight gets made. But like Isak Cruz, if you go down the list of these guys at 140, like are you picking them to beat Devin Haney or Teofimo Lopez or Richardson Hitchens, even Subriel Matias right now? Arno Barbosa, that's not an easy one given his last performance. Neither is what's this dude's name? Liam Paro. I don't know why I just forgot about him all of a sudden, although he lost his last fight. But you saw what he did against Subriel Matias. He could do that against Isak Cruz as well, who's smaller. You know what I mean? Jack Catterall as well. Like these would be tough fights for Isak Cruz.
Okay, so this is how much I think Isaac Cruz is overrated. If you watch the show, you know how I feel about Jack Catterall. I would take Jack Catterall in that fight. Like I would say Jack would win in that fight by unanimous decision. I don't think Isaac Cruz can beat Richardson Hitchens. I don't think he can beat Subriel Matias. I think he knocks out George Kambosos. I don't think he beats Liam Paro. I don't think he beats. Do you think he beats Gary Antoine Russell?
Mm.
That's a tough fight.
Gary Antoine Russell fights
He's a good
when
fighter, dude. Like, but
he fights Valenzuela in March, and I would a
I'm
month from
thinking
now.
Valenzuela, but that's a tricky fight. You could take Gary Antoine Russell Jr. in that fight.
The winner of that fight.
Yeah,
Alberto Puello versus Isaac Cruz. Who wins?
Alberto Puello. I think Puello is arguably the most underrated fighter in this division.
Are we crazy, guys? Are we too
Let us
down on
know.
Isaac Cruz?
If you need to call me a stupid bee, let me know. This
No,
is the
don't do
day
that.
because the Lakers just got Luka Doncic. Like, am I tripping out here? I think Sandor Martin beats Isaac Cruz. I think Arnold Barbosa Jr. beats Isaac Cruz. I think Jose Ramirez could beat Isaac Cruz.
Okay, I don't know about Jose Ramirez.
Hey. Don't know Jose Ramirez
Not this
slander.
version
At
of Jose
140 pounds,
Ramirez.
though? At
This-
140 pounds, Jose Ramirez was almost undisputed until he fought Josh Taylor.
To your point that you're making, Isaac Cruz at 140.
That'd be a great fight. Oh wow, that I would pay money to see that fight. Isaac Cruz and Jose Ramirez, sign me up. I don't even care who wins. That's actually an entertaining fight.
Isaac Cruz at 140. It's 3 fights. It's Rolly Romero, it's Valenzuela, and it's Figueroa. And did he impress you in the Rolly Romero fight, chat?
Isaac Cruz?
Yeah. Chat, what do you because to me, I feel like Shantelle, like we talked about this. Like there's moments that he impressed you in that fight, but if Isaac Cruz, if you let him as the opponent, if you let him just do what he does, which is just maul you, then yeah, it's going to be an Isaac Cruz fight. Like kind of like with David Benavidez, but David Benavidez I think has more skill than Isaac Cruz. Like defensively, he's not bad like the way some of his critics might say. Like he can get hit absolutely, but he can show some defense. But yeah, I think there's a bunch of guys that would be Isaac Cruz. So I'm curious to see what his next matchup would look like. Are they going to move him up in competition, or is he going to face another dude like this? Like what's his next move? If you look at the PBC guys, it's probably one of the guys we just talked about. He's probably going to get the winner of Valenzuela and Gary Antoine Russell. If Gary Antoine Russell wins, maybe he gets Puello or Sandor Martin, the winner of that. Like that's probably what he's looking at. They're gonna give him another title shot because he's popular.
And you know what? It makes sense in terms of money. Like I think in boxing, you have to have like 2 things. You got to be good. You got to be someone that's a legit fighter. Pitbull Cruz is legit. He's just one-dimensional, but you also have to have a crazy fan base. Pitbull Cruz can sell out. Like he's got a crazy fan base. They travel for him. They love him. And like, let's give him that because I don't think there's too many stars like that in boxing. Pitbull Cruz has that. And so he does have that aspect, and a lot of other fighters don't. So let's give him some credit. I just think he's a little bit one-dimensional, and maybe I expect a little bit more from him, but it's just because I'm looking at his fights and I'm like, I think I could have seen a knockout. Like maybe I just expect too much from him. And maybe that's why I'm disappointed.
So Isaac Cruz right now, ranked 4th by the WBA. So Jose Valenzuela has that title. Right now, we'll see if he makes a jump. If Gary Antoine Russell wins, I think it's right there to make Gary Antoine Russell versus Isaac Cruz, which is a fun fight. He's also still ranked at 135 by the WBO and WBC. I don't know if he's going to drop back down. But if you want to give me Shakur Stevenson versus Isaac Cruz, if Isaac Cruz would have dropped back down, I will take that. I just have a feeling I know how that's going to go.
Can I just be honest? Like that fight would be so boring to me because Isaac Cruz would be like stalking him, and Shakur would just be like on back foot, jab, twice in a round. Like he wouldn't be able to touch Shakur.
This is a take. Tyrone Colbert might beat Cruz. This is after Orlando says Pitbull versus Colbert. He'll beat Colbert.
Yeah,
Colbert's in knockout city right now. Hustle man. Pitbull should go back to 130. Pitbull should go back to 135. His power isn't there at 140. Pitbull versus Keyshawn Davis.
I'm not mad at that. I think that's a great fight.
It's not a gimme that Keyshawn Davis wins his next fight, but I do expect him to beat Baranchyk, but Baranchyk is good. By the way, Baranchyk versus Isak Cruz, that'd be a fun fight.
I think
Also,
Baranchyk is going to give Keyshawn some problems.
me too.
I don't think that's an easy fight for
We're
Keyshawn,
sleeping on Baranchyk a little bit.
but if Keyshawn gets it done,
Yeah.
dude, like he gets the most props because I don't think that's an easy fight for him, and I think Baranchyk could win that fight. He's very skilled, you guys, like extremely skilled.
Arlando says Cruz is done. That's really my point. He will not be fighting anyone with an established name.
Great take.
I think it's Gary Antoine Russell if Gary Antoine Russell wins that fight.
Yeah, which I actually think is a good fight. Like, I'd be interested to see. Arlanda, the only reason why I don't think he's done yet is because he's so popular. Yeah. Like, they're going to have him as
and
a
co-main.
Yeah, and he just won. That's true. Steven, is it more disrespectful that Fulton beat Figueroa with Tim's jorts? It was jorts. It wasn't even jeans. Yeah, it wasn't even just like jeans.
I thought it was boxing trunks.
They were. Like, they look like jeans. But,
that look like jorts.
But for the fun of it, we're going to say they were just jorts.
Sure.
We're not going to say they were boxing trunks. But
shout out to John Cena. He was the second best athlete who wore jorts today. John Cena being the first, although he didn't win the Royal Rumble.
All right, guys, continue to drop your comments. Marlon 2631, Bridges and Hitchens would pretty much win every round against Cruz. Not even funny. It's true though. Like it's true. It would be like Devin Haney versus Cambosos. Remember when Devin Haney just swept him in every round? It's like similar to that. Like
Haney versus Prograis, actually. That's Devin Haney versus Pitbull Cruz.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. This is kind of a interesting one right here from Tyrone, who donated to the show earlier. I want to see Oscar Duarte versus Cruz. I think Oscar would best him. Interesting. I think Oscar Duarte is a tough fight. I don't know.
Yes. I think Cruz. Well, stylistically, that's a Cruz fight, so that's why I think he probably gets that one. But Duarte's good. I mean, it would be a fight that plays out kind of like this one, but I think Cruz. I mean, you could argue like, is he big enough? Is he even big enough for this weight class? Like that's the thing too. Like a lot of the guys were mentioning.
I think this was the best comment.
Reach. He's like 5'3".
Hustle man, Chantel's lying. What am I lying about? What did I say? Did I lie about something? Hustle man, let me know.
About Baranchyk.
Oh, Keyshawn is gonna beat the hell out of Baranchyk. No, I'm telling you guys right now, that's a tough fight for Keyshawn. I'm gonna take Keyshawn to win, but I think that's a tough fight. That Barancyk's gonna give him some problems. He's so skilled. He has a decent jab. He has good body punching. And I think he can move around the ring pretty well. I'm curious to see how Keyshawn is able to kind of neutralize Baranchyk in that fight. It's not easy. Baranchyk had one of the most entertaining fights last year. He was an underdog in his last fight. He wasn't even supposed to win. By the way, Hustleman, tell me what I'm lying about.
Beyonce announced a tour.
No, my God, really? I gotta see this. Let's stop the show.
You gotta end the live.
Where is the link, Ryan? I need to see. Is it a stadium tour or what's going on here?
This is Beyonce. Better be a stadium.
Brian, can you just take over for 5 minutes?
We're at minute 49.
Oh, I don't want to see Cowboy Carter tour though. Like,
honestly, let's just take comments and super chats. Welcome. We'll go for a couple more minutes here.
See, the thing about it is like I want to see Beyonce, but I don't want to see the whole Cowboy Carter tour. Like I appreciate the album. I've never listened to country music until then, but should I go?
I have to do a stream on this.
I'm sorry. I
really do.
This Beyonce tour just kind of shook me right now. We need to stop the show. Okay. I need to know if I can go to this thing. Okay. Anyways, guys, let's get back to the fight. Ryan Shepard, who's a good friend of the show. Pitbull fights how Cool Boy drives. Okay, that was a good.
That's a comment.
We had some really good comments tonight, guys. So everyone that joined the show, thank you so much. This was probably one of the most entertaining chats we've ever had. And it's thanks to you guys. Brian, I don't have anything left to say about what we saw tonight. Any final takes before we get up and out of here?
Have you seen Barancyk's ring walks? They're amazing. Oh, that should be interesting. Also, it's going to be in New York. I won't be at that fight. I may be at the press conference though. I will be working during the fight, and we might have a post-fight show. We're
For
seeing if
what?
we could do a post-fight show for that. Keyshawn Davis and
I'm
Barenchik?
not in town.
You're not in
I'm on the
town?
road.
We're
Yeah.
not gonna have
Bryan
a
never
post-fight
listens
show
to
for
me when
that.
I tell him my schedule. He just asks me shit and then like literally doesn't know anything and
You're
he
not
doesn't
the only
listen.
person who has said such things.
Yeah, and I told that person about it as well and she agreed. She agreed with me. Okay.
We don't
Anyways,
know when our
nonetheless.
next post-fight live is gonna be. As a result, we do know that we're planning on being back Tuesday. We're planning on being
Yeah.
back at some point this week. We're both very busy. Chantel's traveling, and I have trade deadline stuff, obviously, to discuss. Oh, and also WNBA free agency has been fucking awesome this year. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
been
And it's
following.
Super Bowl week. Like it's just a
And it's
crazy week.
right, and also the week of the Super Bowl.
And Beyonce just announced a tour. Anyways, guys, I just want to say this has probably been one of the best lives we ever had. Like everyone that joined in, everyone that left a comment. We had a bunch of friends of the show, and then we also had some new people. I am PK13. So Clarissa Shields fights tomorrow. We're not gonna do that post-fight show, but we'll talk about it on Tuesday.
Yeah, I work during the day tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
So we are going to talk about that. We're going to have a live show on Tuesday, and we're probably going to have it on Tuesday night. Actually, we'll tell you guys right now. It's going to be 7:30 Pacific time, 10:30 Eastern time, a live show. We're going to go through everything that we missed and any news that comes out because there's been some news that has been popping out, especially Teofimo Lopez, Richardson Hitchens, which is apparently almost finalized. So if that gets finalized before Tuesday, we'll probably talk about that as well. And Tyrone the Great, yeah, it's on Valentine's Day. Which is crazy, that fight with Keyshawn Davis, but it's a
yeah,
Friday. Friday
no.
fights are the best. Like, I don't know why Top Rank doesn't do more of the Friday
We'll
night
do a
shows.
preview for that also during the week. Would you do a post fight show for no?
For what?
We're not gonna bother. No,
Wait, for what?
I was gonna troll you and be like, would you do a post fight show for Derek Chisora and Otto Wallin? That's next week.
I like Otto Wallin. You know I like Otto Wallin.
Saturday, February 15th. I forgot it's Jack Catterall, Arnold Barbosa Jr.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta do that.
That's
But it's also All-Star Saturday, but who cares about that now?
I mean,
Wait,
I kind of do.
Is that All-Star Saturday the week after?
No, it is. No, it's that day.
Okay, I think we have to do that. I'm sorry, Brian. We're doing it on the 15th.
Okay.
Because I'm back on the 15th, like in the morning, so we could do that post-fight show.
Duarte versus Prograis is the same day. Yeah, in Anaheim. We ain't doing that fight. I'll tell you right now. Okay, so that's when the next post fight live will be.
On weeks. Friday and we can always we'll recap
Saturday,
Keyshawn. We'll recap Keyshawn and Barenchik. And then on Saturday, we're going to do Barbosa and Catterall. Of course, we would do that one.
22nd is the better BFB card. So obviously, I mean.
Yeah, I'll be in town for that.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, I just want to say this was probably one of the best post-fight live shows that we've ever had. And it's because of you guys. You guys leave the best comments. And to be honest with you, the reason why we do the post-fight shows is because of you guys. And even if you watch this later on and you leave a comment and we don't get back to you, we actually read all of the comments. We just don't always have time to get back to you guys. So thank you so much.
We're trying to get better at making time, though, legitimately.
Yeah. And anyways, guys, leave your comments. If there's anything you want us to talk about as well on the Tuesday show, let us know. We'll try to get to that. And yeah, Brian, I'll let you have the last words.
Do you actually want to talk about this Luka Doncic trade on my channel?
You're gonna have to find somebody else because I just found out Beyonce is gonna have a tour. I have to find out if I'm gonna
I ain't
go
getting
to this
tickets
thing.
for that, but shout out to Beyonce.
Did you end up getting tickets to the Kendrick one?
No, them shits were like $400 each. I ain't doing that.
Yeah, I know. It's
about to be a recession very soon.
I ain't doing that shit. It's already a recession up in here.
Yeah,
we have one more chat actually. Oh, Tyrone the Great, who donated to the show in Arlanda. Yes. Boxing emoji and staying alive. Nice. Is that staying alive? I don't know. Anyways, guys, it's getting late and we just got some crazy news all over. So we're gonna peace up out of here. Thanks so much. See you guys Tuesday. Remember, 7:30 Pacific time, 10:30 Eastern time. And if you like the night lives, let us know because we'll continue to do that. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on this Saturday night, guys. Appreciate you.